In my last video, I had announced the SeeStar Round Up project where I will be crowdsourcing data from multiple SeeStar users to see how good of an image we can get on the various targets. And last month, the target I had announced was Messier 27, or the Dumbbell Nebula. Now, this is a nebula in the constellation of Vulpecula, and this is a planetary nebula which is the remains of a long dead star. Now, the response from the community has been great, and I received data from 12 participants, and including myself, that is 13 participants. So I am very happy to see that, and here are the names of the participants who sent in data this time. And in this video, I will be processing all of that data, and at the end of this video, I will announce the next target. Now, if this is your first time participating in this project and you want to know how to transfer data from your SeeStar to your computer, or how to upload the data from your computer to the SeeStar Round Up project, you can check the links in the description of this video. Now, if you use a Mac, the process to transfer or upload the data is very similar to what I showed on the PC, except that instead of using the control button on Windows, you'll be using the command button on a Mac. So for example, I would be hitting Control-C to copy all of my files on Windows, whereas you would be hitting Command-C to copy the files. If you do have any specific questions, you can post them in the comments of this video and I'll be sure to reply. Now in this video, I'll be using a software called Serial, which is completely free, to process the data. The final stacked TIFF image will be available for you to download. You can see the description of this video for the link to that, and you're welcome to download that and process along with me as I process the image in Serial. And you are welcome to share the image you processed on social media. Just remember to credit the SeeStar Roundup group, and you can also use the hashtag SeeStar Roundup. If you don't already have the software called Serial installed on your computer, it's a completely free software. You can download it from the link in the description of this video. Once that is done, you can click on the second link in the description of this video, the one titled Serial Script. This is the official directory where you can download scripts, and the script we are downloading is called OSC_preprocessing_without dbf. At the very right, you can click on this download button and then choose where you want to save the script. I'm just going to save it in this drive. I'll create a folder called script, and I will save the script inside this folder. Now we will go to the folder where that script is saved, and we just need to modify the script a little bit because I want to use drizzle integration to gain some extra resolution and to increase the size of my SeeStar images because they are fairly small. So you can right click on this and click open with, and you can choose another app if Notepad is not showing. I always like to edit scripts in Notepad in Windows, but any text editor will work. So click on open with Notepad. Just navigate down to where it says register pp_lights and just type in space dash drizzle. That's it. That's all the editing you have to do, and then click file and save. Now you can close that. Just so you remember that we had added that drizzle option in this script to increase the resolution of our images. You can also change the name of it. Just type _drizzle. There we go. Now we'll go back to that directory where I had saved scripts, and I'll create a new folder called Messier 27 because that's the target that we imaged, the Dumbbell Nebula. Now inside the Messier 27 folder, I'll create a new folder called Lights. And that's the folder that I will be putting all of the individual files in. Now open up Serial. Now first thing we are going to do is load up that script that we had downloaded and modified earlier. So go to the top right where this hamburger icon is. Click on that, click on Preferences, and down here navigate to Scripts. And this is where you are going to add the location of that script directory. Let's go to that other folder. I just hit the Windows button to bring up the taskbar. And this is the folder where I had saved the scripts in. I'll open up the scripts folder and copy the location from this address bar up top. So just Control-C or right click and copy, and go back to Serial and paste that in here in Serial. Then click Apply. Now Serial will automatically load any scripts that were saved in that folder. We do have to close Serial and reopen it. I'm going to not have Serial maximized so it's easier for you to see everything that's going on, and we can also move to other folders if we need. Now, if you click on scripts at the top, you can see this is the script that we had modified after downloading. This is one-shot color pre-processing without dbf _ drizzle. That's what we are going to use. Now click on the home button at the very top left, and now we will select the folder where our light files are stored, and that will also be the folder that Serial will save all of the temporary files in. So this was the folder, Messier 27, and this is the lights folder where all of the lights are stored, and that's all of the fit files that you got from the SeeStar. Now we won't click on the lights folder, we just need to be in this M27 folder or whatever your target is, and we'll simply click open. And once you do that, Serial will now set that as the home directory. Now all we need to do is click on scripts and click on this script, the one-shot color pre-processing without dbf _ drizzle. Once you click on that, Serial will automatically start all of the pre-processing steps. Now the pre-processing can take a little bit of time depending on how fast your computer is and how many files you have. Once that step has completed, you will notice that in the folder where we had our lights, now there's a new folder called process and a new folder called result.fit. This is the file that we now need. So we will just drag and drop this result file, which is our final stacked file, into Serial. And initially you won't see very much. The image will look very dark. So what we need to do is to stretch this image so that we can see how much data there actually is in here. For that, click on linear at the bottom and click on auto stretch. And now you can see our image of the dumbbell nebula. However, it looks very green, and that is completely normal. Don't worry about that. That is going to be corrected in one of the next steps. Step 1 is to crop the image if needed. So if there were any bad artifacts on the outside due to field rotation, for example, I would want to crop those out. And the way to do that is to simply use your mouse to draw a rectangle over the area that you want to keep. Everything outside of that will be cropped. Once you've drawn a rectangle that you are happy with, simply right click on that image and click crop, and that will crop it. In this case, I'm just going to undo that because I don't need to crop the image. The outer regions look pretty decent. The second step that we are going to do is background extraction. And now that will allow us to correct for this green color that we are seeing. To do that, we will go up here to image processing and click on background extraction. Now all we need to do over here is click on generate, and Serial will automatically generate all of these boxes all over the image. Now what we're trying to do is place these boxes over the background only. We don't want to place these boxes over any bright stars or over the target. For example, if there are some boxes like this on the target, I can right click those boxes with my mouse to make them go away. So if there are too many boxes and a lot of them are on bright stars and you can't manually move all of them, or you can't manually delete all of them, you can adjust this samples per line. So if we decrease that, for example, to 10 and click generate again, that will generate fewer sample points. Now we can also just click on here in some areas where it's only background, so there is no nebulosity and there are no bright stars. So we can manually make sure that the background is well sampled for correction. We just want to make sure all of these empty background areas have at least one or two of these red boxes. Now we simply click compute background. And here we go. As you can see, the background has been corrected very well. There is no more green, and also any vignetting that might have been on there has been corrected. And if I'm happy with the results I got, I simply click on apply. And there we go, that is done. Now the next step we want to take is color calibration. So we go to image processing at the top, go to color calibration, and select photometric color calibration. Over here, we want to tell Cyril what target this is. So you can either type in Messier 27 or the Dumbbell Nebula and click find. And right over here, it has found Messier 27. When we look at the focal length, we see that the focal length is correct, 250 millimeters. The pixel size here is showing 1.45 micrometers. However, we know that the SeeStar's pixel size is 2.9 micrometers. But this value here is correct because we are using the Drizzle X2 option. So it increases the image scale or the size of our target by a factor of 2, which is why this value here is correct. And all we need to do now is click on OK. And now we can click close. And now the color calibration has been done and it rotated the image as well properly. So we are good to go there. The next step we want to look at is deconvolution, which will allow us to sharpen the image a little bit more. So for deconvolution, we are going to go to image processing and deconvolution. Now deconvolution acts just like deconvolution in PixInsight or any other software. It'll allow us to sharpen the stars and compensate for any tracking errors. All we need to do over here is click generate PSF. Cyril will automatically analyze the image, and then it will generate a view of an average star from this image. This could take a minute or so, so just be patient at this step. We are almost done. So up here is the image of an average star from this view, and all we need to do is click on apply. Okay, deconvolution has been completed. We close out of that. Now we can see how much of a difference that made. So this is the original after deconvolution, before, after. So the stars did get tighter. I'm going to zoom in a little bit over here so we can see better. So this was before, after, before, after. So it did enhance some of the details in the image and make the stars a little bit smaller. It's not a huge difference like Blur Exterminator in PixInsight, but it is a measurable difference. Now the next thing we want to do is properly stretch the image. Now you might notice that there is some blotching and a little bit of noise in the background. I didn't bother trying to correct that at the previous step because when we finally stretch the image properly, the background will be much darker and any imperfections will not be visible. So we will do that at this next step, which is stretching the image, which means turning it from this kind of a linear format to an actual stretched format. This is what the image actually looks like right now. So the auto stretch we had on just gives us a preview of the image. So before we stretch the image, we will set the image back to its original linear format. Then we will bring up GHS, which is what we use for stretching. It's right over here, Generalized Hyperbolic Stretch Transformation. We'll open that up and I'll move this to the side here so you can see a little bit better. I'll make this larger as well. There we go. Now, this hyperbolic stretch window might seem a little bit complicated, but it is not. Just like in regular photography, the very left of the image is dark or completely black. The very right of the image is going to be completely white. First thing we are going to do is set the zoom level to 100 and then hit enter. And now you can see that most of the data is towards the very left of the frame, so it is very, very dark, which is what we are seeing in the linear version of the image over here. So first thing we need to do is to click right in the middle of this histogram, so middle of this peak right over here. I'll just click. You don't have to be precise, we'll adjust that later. So click anywhere over here, and when you click over here, you'll see that in front of symmetry point or SP, it puts a value of 0.00059. Now, next thing we are going to do is go to local stretch intensity, which is B, and just max that out to 15. Now we will increase the stretch factor until we can just begin to see the image. We don't want it to be too bright at this point. So I think that's pretty decent in terms of contrast. So up here under color stretch model, you can either leave it at the default or you can switch over to human weighted luminance, which gives much better star colors. So you can see if I increase the stretch factor, The colors are looking a lot better using this method of stretching compared to independent channel values. So you'll have to try which one of these methods works better for various targets. But on this target, I do believe this gives much better colors. So I will keep it as human weighted luminance. Now we will do a little bit more stretching. Now you can also use this dropper tool to set the symmetry point. What you want to do is to generate a little sample box by dragging with your mouse, and you want to place this box on the dimmest part of the image that you actually want to see. Now there's some very faint nebulosity in the outer regions of the dumbbell nebula over here that's just barely above the background noise. So that's the faintest area that I want to be able to see. So I drew a little sample box here by clicking and dragging my mouse. And now I will click on this dropper tool, and that automatically set the symmetry point, and now I can see as much detail in the background as I'm going to get. And now I can make some further adjustments to the stretch factor. So I can increase the stretch until I am happy with the brightness of the background, and now I can decrease the stretch intensity to make the brighter areas a little bit dimmer. Yeah, something like that. The central region here looks a little bit too bright. I think I will move the stretch intensity a little bit further here. Okay, so now we can see a good amount of detail inside as well as the faint outer regions. And of course you can adjust the stretch intensity a little bit more. And I think that looks pretty good. Now some people do want a slightly darker background, and we can adjust the symmetry point over here a little bit if we want. We can increase it maybe a little bit more and see. Okay, I think that is a pretty good background value. I don't like my background to be completely black because that ends up clipping some of the details in the background and in the faint regions of the nebula. Once you are happy with this, you can hit the apply button and then click close. Now if you want to rotate this image and make it horizontal instead of vertical, you can right click anywhere on the image, click rotate and crop, and you can set the angle. We don't want to crop, we just want to adjust the angle. So you can rotate it by 90 degrees, for example. Click apply and it'll rotate the image like this. You can zoom out and zoom back in. Now if there is any green noise in the background, or if the stars are looking a little bit green, we can remove that green cast by going to image processing and clicking on remove green noise, and leave the settings as default and just click apply and then click close. Now this will adjust the image and remove any green, but in this case we're noticing that it has removed a lot of the green from the nebula as well. So we don't want that. So for a target that actually has some green in it, or blue-green, it's probably best not to use that. The stars are looking pretty good in terms of their color. There are no green stars over here, so we don't really need to do that on this particular target. I think this looks pretty good. Now if you want to adjust the image saturation, or how bright the colors are, or how saturated the colors are, you can go up to image processing and click color saturation, and you can adjust the amount of saturation. Now some people overdo saturation. It looks something like this. That is way too much. You want to apply as little saturation as needed, and in some cases you don't need any. If you do apply some saturation and the background gets noisy as well, you can increase the background factor, and that will act as color noise reduction for the background. But in this case, I'm just going to cancel that because I'm pretty happy with the colors in this image as they are. And now you can decide if you want to crop the image again to something smaller. You would just right click and click on crop. But I think the entire image looks pretty good, so we don't need to crop anything here. Now you can further adjust the contrast in this image by going to image processing and clicking on histogram transformation. And you can make some adjustments, for example, darkening the background, increasing the brightness of the bright areas or decreasing it. And if you're happy with that, you can click apply and then close it. Now as the last step, you want to save the image. So go up at the top right and click on this downward facing arrow. And you can choose where to save the image. I always like to create a new folder called Final. And I will save it in this folder. So you can select what type you want. If you're ready to share the image online, or you just want to show it to your friends on your phone, you can select JPEG. If you want to save it as a high quality file, you can save it as a TIFF. I like to save it as both, so I like to save it as a TIFF file. And up here you can select what name you want. I'll put it as M27 Final Abdura processed, and I will save that. And for TIFF files, I generally use 16-bit unsigned integer, and click save. And then I will also save it as a JPEG file. So in the same final folder, I will select, actually I can click on the name over here and then I can select JPEG, and now I will save it as a JPEG as well. And quality, I always leave it 100%. Click save on that. And as you can see, this is quite a large image. At the bottom left here, you can see the size as 3840 by 2160. So that is 4 times higher in total size or in total area than the default image that comes out of the SeeStar. And that is because I modified the script to use drizzle integration, which increases the amount of detail in the object as well as provides a larger overall size. So I could use this image as a background for my huge 4K 55-inch monitor if I wanted, which I couldn't do with a regular SeeStar image because it would be about 1/4 of the required size. So this is my attempt at processing the Dumbbell Nebula data that I had received. So this was an excellent collaborative project from the SeeStar Round Up group. I definitely recommend downloading the stacked image that is in the link in the description below and trying to process it yourself. So I hope you found that helpful. If you want to download the image and process it yourself as well, the stacked image is provided in the description of this video, and I look forward to seeing what kind of results you get if you decide to process this image. The target for next month is the Iris Nebula. The reason I chose the Iris Nebula is because unlike the Dumbbell Nebula, this is a broadband target. There is a lot of blue nebulosity in that area and also a lot of dust and gas, and this is what we call a reflection nebula. And this is best imaged without a nebula filter. So I would recommend double checking to make sure that the nebula filter is disabled. Sometimes the SeeStar automatically enables the nebula filter for certain targets, but for the Iris Nebula, you want it to be disabled. Also, I recommend using the default 10-second exposure time for the individual exposures in the SeeStar. From my testing, I noticed that the 20-second and 30-second exposures sometimes have trails in them, and we have to throw out quite a few of them. So in the future, I recommend setting your SeeStar to 10-second individual exposure times. The deadline to submit your data for the next target, which is the Iris Nebula, will be August 31st, 2024. So be sure to upload your data at the link in the description of this video before that. And once again, I want to thank everyone who participated last month. And again, here are the names of all the participants. Thank you very much. And if you have any suggestions for a target for next month, be sure to post those in the comments below as well. And I will definitely take that into consideration when I'm choosing the target for the next month. Also, we are conducting a poll on the All-Star Telescope Facebook page about whether the community would want any prints to be available for the targets that we have selected. And if you can, I would recommend voting in that poll to let us know. Thank you all for participating, and clear skies.